Hello and welcome to Haunted House Startup. My name's Grant. I'm going to be covering this lecture on business mistakes to avoid. This is a build-up to the product release that will be coming out in probably about a week. I'm going to do a new video every 2 days, building up to it. So there'll be 3 videos. The first one here is business mistakes to avoid. The next one is going to be how to overcome those mistakes. And the third one will be more about the product and the bonuses and stuff that'll come along for signing up. In this presentation, business mistakes to avoid, we're going to go over all the different things that cause businesses to fail. There's 627,200 new businesses, basically in a 1-year period. Out of those, you're going to have tons of failures. So you've got that many new businesses, but at the same time, look at the number there on the slide. 595,600 businesses closed down in that same year. So that's insane. And 43,546 go bankrupt. 7 out of 10 new businesses survive at least 2 years. About half survive 5 years. So in the first 2 years, 3 businesses are going to guaranteed to fail. And then in the next 5 years, you're looking at maybe 3 to 5 that are going to actually make it that long. So another chunk of those are going to fall off in the 3 to 5 year period. Findings do not differ between industries. It doesn't matter. We're all haunters here. So haunting, contractors, home cleaning services, it doesn't matter what the business is. These statistics are pretty similar across all different services and industries. So it's something to really think about. The number one reason businesses fail is you start it for the wrong reason. Most of us aren't going to have this situation. Most of us are starting a haunted house, I hope, because it's something we love to do and it's a passion. I know that's how I got into it. It started in a garage, and me and a buddy, and we just go crazy. We love scaring people. We love seeing them scream. It just grew from there. If you're starting a haunted house because you think it's a quick money maker and you're just going to roll in the dough, you're totally wrong. If you think it's going to give you more time, you're way wrong there. You're going to be spending so much time on starting up a haunted house, and then when you run it during the month of October, you have no life. You're basically going to be living there. Or maybe so you do not have to answer to anyone else. You want to be your own boss. That's great. You still got to answer to the fire marshal. You still got to answer to the business inspectors. You name it. If you're renting or leasing a building, you got to answer to the owner of the building. So you're still not really your boss. It doesn't matter if you even owned your building. You still got to deal with inspectors and permits and fire marshals. You're still answering to other people who can shut you down. So you're still not in charge. So if you're starting for any of those reasons, you really need to rethink. The second reason is poor management. Most reports cite poor management as the number one reason for failure. And this is mostly due to the new business owners lacking business and management expertise. If you're going to start a haunted house and you've done a home haunt, maybe you've acted in a haunted house a couple of times, that does not give you the knowledge you need to start and operate a haunted house. You're looking at running a full-fledged business. You got to deal with marketing, you got to deal with advertising, you got to deal with fire inspectors, you got to deal with tons and tons of customers. You got to build it up, you got to store it, it's got to get tore down if it's just going up and coming down for the season. If you own your own building and you got it year-round, you're in there working non-stop. You always got something to do. The business experience and management, if you've never dealt with people and had to manage it, actors alone is a full-time job. When it comes time to run a haunted house for the month of October, if you're in charge of the actors, that's all you have time for. all you've got time for is dealing with them. They're going to have so many questions, so many problems. They're not going to understand how to do things. You're going to have to constantly be dealing with them and watching them and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to. Constantly trying to train them because they're not going to know what they're doing. It is a huge task right there. Just dealing and managing the actors. That's not counting dealing with permits and inspectors and fire marshals, handling traffic, handling security, finances, ticketing, all of that. There's a ton of stuff involved. And then no neglect of the business. You've got to take care to regularly study, organize, and plan. Make sure everything is controlled. If you just fly by the hip of your pants, you're just asking for trouble. Really, you want to go work for a haunted house. If you haven't run one yet and all you've done is act in one, go volunteer to do the non-acting stuff and shadow. See if somebody will let you follow them around to see what's involved in the day-to-day operations, because it'll blow your mind. The third reason a lot of businesses fail is insufficient capital. Common mistake is not having sufficient operating funds. So you open your doors. Okay. You're open to the public. You gotta deal with tickets. You gotta deal with everyone coming through. In our case, operating funds, not as big of a deal. A lot of our expenses are more pre-opening, so you're looking at more startup kind of stuff, marketing and advertising. If you're getting shirts and materials and lumber, everything to build up, this isn't as much of an issue because we don't deal with operating funds as much, but it can become a problem. Because say you build up and you do your haunt and you got to tear down and be out of the building. You only rented it for 3 or 4 months. Okay. Once the haunt's over and you got all the money, if you don't have the funds to put stuff in storage and pay off your bills, you're not going to be open next year. Your stuff's going to sit out in the rain and the weather. It's going to be destroyed. You're going to be out all that stuff. So you've got to make sure you got just the capital to cover those expenses. And the other thing on the side, business owners underestimate how much money is needed, and they're forced to close before they even have a fair chance to succeed. So you go and you get the money, you get a loan or something, and you start building. You get all your lumber, you build your haunt, but then you don't have enough for marketing or flyers or print materials, or maybe you need some sort of fire system that you got to pay to get installed. If you don't have the money to cover all those, you're done for before you even open your doors. So it all kind of rolls into planning. If you plan everything out and you do your research, you're prepared and you've got the right amounts of money, you deal with all these situations. It's all overcomable. It's all preventable. You don't have to be one of those businesses that fail. The fourth reason most businesses fail is location. You always hear it, location, location, location. It's a critical factor to success. Factors to consider are where your customers are, traffic, accessibility, parking and lighting, location of your competitors, condition and safety of the building. Now, location in terms of where your building is in the city or if it's outside the city limits, with a haunted house, isn't necessarily that important. I know of haunts that are out in the boonies that you gotta drive 2 hours out in the middle of nowhere and think you're gonna get kidnapped and who knows what to go to a haunted house. And they get tens of thousands of people that drive out there to see their haunted house. So if you hit on the marketing and you can drive the people there, you totally don't have to worry about the location. But you gotta have to worry about the location's features. You're going to be dealing with a lot of traffic. You're going to have everything accessible. You're going to need lots of parking. And you're going to have to make sure all that stuff's lighted. Competitors, with a haunted house, once again, not as big of an issue. You can do cross promotions with your competitors. Work together to drive traffic back and forth. Some people might not want to. They're lost. Find somebody else who wants to do something with you. Condition safety of a building. If your building doesn't have a sprinkler system, you're done before you started, because that's a giant expense. You're looking at $10, $20, $30,000 to get a sprinkler system installed. So you really, when it comes to location, the physical location on a map of the building, not important. The building's features itself, very important for our success in the haunt industry. Lack of planning is the number 5 reason. It's critical that you have a business plan. I've heard people say they don't need one, they know all this, they don't have to have it written down, who's ever going to look at it, why do I need one, I know how to do all this stuff, it's in my head, oh, I got a notebook with all this information. No, you've got to do this. It may go against everything you think, but just the process of going through and doing a business plan is a huge benefit. Many small businesses fail because of fundamental shortcomings in the planning. If you don't plan for a certain amount of traffic, you run out of parking, maybe you're missing something for an inspection. If you don't plan, you don't get it. You fail before you start. You got to be realistic and accurate. All your information has to be educated projections. If you can find stats, use them. There's all kinds of information out there. You can get demographics information. You can find out average cost to haunt tickets. It's on the internet. You can find all kinds of information. Don't just make up random numbers. Go find the facts. If you make up numbers and they're not realistic, once again, that's why you're going to fail. Number 6 is overexpansion. I don't think I've ever heard of a haunted house going down because they grew too much. It's possible. Business owners could, as it says, confuse success with how fast they can expand their business. Usually with us, you start small. 2,000, 4,000 square feet, and you build up year after year until you're in the 30 or 40 or 50,000 square foot building. Our expansion is slow and progressive, and that's where planning comes in also. Starting out too large in the case of a haunted house, not being able to handle the size. If you've never run a haunt before, don't go open a 50,000 square foot warehouse haunted house. You're going to kill yourself. You got to have the experience. Now, if you're doing that and you've been working at another haunt, doing management and business and running marketing and having your hands in all the different hats that there are to wear, then that could be a different situation. But if you're just getting into this and you're starting a professional haunt coming from a home haunter or something, go small your first year. Start small. See what it's like to run a professional haunted house, and then grow. Do not jump into something that you're not prepared for. And getting a giant dream haunt right off the bat, that's every haunter's wet dream. But it's going to be a nightmare if you're not prepared for that. Number 7, no website. Your online exposure is non-existent. You're seeing more and more haunted houses with the professional website designs and stuff now. You're seeing there's several companies now out there that do haunted house website and marketing stuff and all that. So to have a business today, you really need to have a website. If you got a haunted house, you need a website. 77% of the population is on the internet. E-commerce sales for 2010 were $165.4 billion, and it's expected to rise each year. An example here, we had our Halloween night for the haunt here, and it was the biggest night, and it was this past year, it was a Monday. Normally it's kind of slower on Halloween night. But looking at past years, and we did polls at the entrance, the haunts, asking people how they found us and stuff like that. I'd say 75% found it from Googling haunted house. That's a lot of traffic coming from the internet. And that was not paid traffic. It was just generic traffic. We turned off all paid advertising at that point. Shut it off the day before so we wouldn't be doing it because we were expecting a somewhat slow night. The internet blew that night out of the water. And it's just going to continue to grow. Lack of local online marketing. If they cannot find you online, how are they to find you in the real world? I don't know when the last time it was that I opened up the yellow pages to look for a haunted house, let alone a plumber. Everything's online. I go into Google, I do a search for plumbers, I do a search for window repair. It's all online. So if you're not on the internet with a website and you don't have local online marketing, that's your local listing is going to blow it out of the water. Getting all your listings set up is a huge benefit. And it's like a one-time fee to get all the things set up, and then you might pay a monthly fee to have somebody maintain it and improve upon it, which is more than worth it when you look at the numbers. $165.4 billion in e-commerce sales. Well, you do e-tickets, you sell online tickets. Every haunt should be selling online tickets. So the potential for your online sales is huge. The haunt that I was just talking about, their stack of online tickets for Halloween night were through the roof. Everybody was through the internet. That's where they all came from. If we wouldn't have had that, we wouldn't have seen nothing. Would have been a dead night. Would have wrote it off. So the internet is super important nowadays. So here's some information. If you got questions or comments, you can shoot it over to haunting@hauntedhousestartup.com. I respond to all my emails personally. If you send a question, I respond to it. It's like free consulting. You know, we've got services up there listed if you wanted consulting services. But I've got several people who email me regularly. I could write a book with some of the stuff that I do email conversations with. I got one guy I just did a bunch of email conversations with. We must have swapped 30, 40 emails that were like a page long each. So, make sure to follow us. Looking at this now and it's looking pretty ridiculous. The Google Plus, you can find it on the website. Go over there, and I've got links to all this stuff: Google, Twitter, and Facebook. Facebook's easy, facebook.com/haunted.house.startup. Head over there, leave a comment, friend us, follow us. Any new posts or updates, go out to Facebook. Also, if you're not on the mailing list, which most people who are watching this video are finding it because they got an email from us. But if you found this from someone's link, someone referred you to it, make sure to go over to hauntedhousestartup.com and sign up for our email list. You get a free ebook, How to Make Money with Your Haunted House, that's got all kinds of different ideas and brainstorming things on how to produce more income from a haunted house. You then get a little PDF file of different ways of scaring people, and then there's a few other things that come down the road. Also, I throw out random emails about offers and stuff like that, so make sure to keep an eye out for that and sign up if you haven't. Look for our next video in about 2 days, and that'll be just talking about how to overcome the things that we talked about in this video here. So like planning, location, you know, I touched on a few things here and there of overcoming stuff for a haunted house, but I'll go way more into depth on all of that, and all this is free information for you guys to check out. So go ahead and feel free to head over and watch it again if you want.